Speak up, man.
Who's when the Easter Friday thing has to turn?
Stop lying.
Gather around, bottle killers, that's if you're still living, and get on down to the Laphroaig rhythm. This one here is the 18, my dear. It's a age statement that's going to set things clear.
So you're rapping now?
Yeah. I've been watching a bit of 8 Mile.
You've been practicing?
Yeah, I felt like I rushed it.
No, I thought it was good. Put in. Usually the reviews that we do are about 20 minutes long, which I know not everybody's going to have the time to watch, especially if you don't like the cut of our jib. So a new feature that we're doing is if you just want to get to the good stuff and find out about the whiskey, how it tastes, go to the end. We're going to put it in chapters for you. So you can just skip, get the tasting notes, and like a quick fire 1-2 minute assessment of what the whiskey is. How's the whiskey tasting?
Let's stick around. Okay, welcome, bottle killers. Here we're back for another review. We got the Laphroaig 18. This is. I don't know. Is this part of the core release?
I think it's coming back. So it was originally part of the core releases, and it was discontinued in 2016. So it's July 2024 as we're filming today, and this one literally dropped just last week. So I'm excited for it. I'm glad that they've brought it back. It's a Laphroaig whiskey that I'd never actually had the opportunity to try. So really pleased to see this one back on the shelves, and excited to be diving in and tasting it today with you all.
So it kind of is like the rule is back.
It is indeed, yeah. I've heard good things.
Well, I'm a big Laphroaig guy. You know, it's one of those when I get cocktails, when I get like an old fashioned, I always ask them, and sometimes they can handle it, sometimes they can't, the bartenders. But I always like to get Laphroaig old fashions. I just love Laphroaig and what it brings, and the type of peat that Laphroaig has. I've always been a fan. So to have an aged version of it, I am really excited to try this. Really. We found a 15 we spoke about in the last episode, which we really loved this year. Probably my whiskey of the year. So an 18 things can only get better, right?
Absolutely.
As the song says. So, well, tell me, is there anything about the 18 that you found out on your surfing the World Wide Web?
No, I mean, it's a bourbon cask maturation, so we should enjoy it. It's 48%, so, coming in at a nice ABV, but not quite on the cask strength level. And then it set me back £170, so I think this is maybe one of the things that, some people that watch and tune into the channel might find prices creeping up. And £170 is certainly, not a small amount of money to pay for an 18-year-old bottle of whiskey. I mean, it's great that they're bringing it back. It depends what you're comparing it to, right? It's probably on a similar level to Talisker 18, but then you've got 18-year-olds that will come in at under £100. I think Lot Lomond do a really great 18-year-old. You can usually pick that for under 100. I think Bunnahabhain's crept. The 18 is just over 100 now, probably about 140. So, but for something that's got such a cult following, and Laphroaig being such a powerhouse that it is, there was no way that I couldn't get this one.
Well, what I'm so happy about is the fact that it's just a straight bourbon cask. They've not been trying to do any weird shit, right?
Absolutely.
For want of a better expression, weird shit.
Yeah.
Suffices. Because one of my biggest disappointments when it came to the whiskey journey was, I used to think that if you had a 12, a 15, and an 18, you could make that progression, that Jordan Pickford style. You could make that progression.
Yeah.
And you would just be getting a better, older, smoother version of what you had previously. But actually what you find is that they actually changed the maturation percentages, whether it's sherry cask or maybe to do a pheno cask in this. And it's kind of annoying because if the 12 is just a classic bourbon expression, you want that graduation, don't you? And you kind of get robbed of that graduation.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that Laphroaig is just simple. And the 15 that we tried, even though it was an independent bottling, that was just a straight bourbon cask as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I feel like we've got the Laphroaig 10, the Laphroaig 10 cask strength. We had the 15 independent bottling, and now we got the 18 bourbon casks. So we do have a pedigree to go off.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was not too long ago that we were just trying the Carchis release, the triple wood and PX sherry one that they did, and we enjoyed it. But I certainly, I'm a big fan of classic bourbon cask maturation because I think it really allows the character of the distillate to come through. It's not going to be drowned out by, overpowering sherry notes or any of that kind of nonsense. So definitely excited to try this one.
Yeah, and I think it's not to say don't have a play. We all love the experimentation, the little play. It's when you get a classic age statement like a Laphroaig, you want Laphroaig, right? You don't want a special release 18 Laphroaig. You want the daddy. Well,
yeah,
the ruler. Let's see if it's back.
Well, it's definitely got that instant Laphroaig character.
The iodine,
briny, medicinal, quite a herbal kind of dram. But just it's classic Laphroaig on the nose, isn't it? Straight away.
It's pretty fruity as well, yeah. And so in terms of Laphroaig, in terms of your collection, do you own much Laphroaig?
Yeah, I've probably got 7, maybe 8 bottles.
Because you were like a peat monster for a little while, and
yeah.
then how would you if you could think of it quickly, would you put it above or below Lagavulin in terms of your experience?
Currently, I definitely put Laphroaig above Lagavulin for me. It's one of those like that I've been on that journey with, where the first time that I tried it, probably like everybody, it's like, what am I drinking? I'm never going to like this.
Yeah.
And then over time, like I think your palate just develops, and certainly, we've drank a lot of Islay whiskey. We've been to Islay quite a few times now. And I think maybe, there's a couple of things. We obviously, when we reviewed the Lagavulin, we talked about the experience at the distillery wasn't quite up to scratch with the old plastic cups.
Yeah.
And I think that does have an impact, right? Like, you're not necessarily judging the whiskey on the people that you meet at the distillery, but I definitely think it plays a part when you're separating, giants that are Ardbeg, Laphroaig, Lagavulin. Where's the X factor going to come from? It's going to come from the people, like the passion, the stories.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because we had such a great we got hosted so well at Ardbeg last time we were there that we didn't want to leave, and we actually missed all the Laphroaig tasting, didn't we? At the Laphroaig distillery. And so one thing that I can only judge Laphroaig on is the liquid, rather than the people. It's not been there's no complexity to it. It's just simple, like what does it taste like? And it's always been something that I've really enjoyed. And last episode I actually said that I kind of think it's become a little bit unheralded, but actually seeing the excitement for this 18 release last week, all the people, if they were all excited. They were all excited for the Laphroaig to come back with the 18.
Just dived in for the first sip there. So, as I say, just going back to the nose, it's very smoky, it's fruity, it's very fresh and herbal as well. So some of the more kind of grassy notes that you might not expect, but certainly with it being a bourbon cask, it's got that lovely sweetness to it. As soon as it hits, there's a beautiful spiciness that comes through, but you expect Laphroaig to be rich, oily, powerful, and this for me on the palate is all honey and smoke. So much honey there.
But it's got on the box it says there's like a ginger note, which I'm getting.
Yeah.
And that's the spice.
Honey
it's like the mint and the ginger are giving it the spice.
Yeah, some peels, like orange peels.
What ABV is this?
It's 48%.
Okay.
48, yeah. So decent enough strength. But yeah, it's certainly not lacking in character. Very rounded, very balanced as well, like sweetness and the smoke and the fruits.
It's got that lovely like, thickness on the tongue as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of because we just had, one of our things is always, do we need a warm-up dram before we do a review? We're shooting at this at like 12 o'clock midday, so we obviously hadn't with it being midday, which is rare for you. but we just had the Laphroaig 10. Like I just put a drop on my tongue just to try and get my tongue ready for this episode, and I was like, whoa, I totally wasn't ready.
Yeah.
But that's a totally different game. That's a totally different feeling on the tongue with the 18. It's got so much rounder, smoother, fuller bodied than the 10.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you do, and I've spoken about it before because I drink more of the Laphroaig 10 cask strength than the regular one. I think it's only up until recently that I actually owned a bottle of the standard 10.
So you claim.
Owned the bottle, not I maybe had tried it, but it's the first bottle I'd owned, and I do find it thin because I'm so used to the cask strength version. But this, as you say, like it's got that oiliness, the richness, but just it's beautifully sweet on the palate, and the finish is long as well with nice tobacco notes. Again, that classic maritime kind of medicinal TCP style peat that you only get with the Laphroaig. But it's just as I say, with it being the bourbon cask, I think it is just very classic. It reminds me a lot of the reason why we like that independent 15-year-old Laphroaig. That was a single bourbon cask. And that's probably the thing that this reminds me of the most, obviously, with the extra 3 years on it.
Well, this is the graduation. This is a far richer, far better version of the 10-year-old.
I mean, if we weren't about to drink 5 more drams of Deanston after this, I'd say we should go and get the Laphroaig and do a side-by-side, but maybe we can do that for another episode.
Yeah, well, I think we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that
day.
one.
Save it for another day.
Yeah, because this is one I'll be wanting to come back to and rating. I'll be rating. This is Jay's bottle rather than mine, but I'll be rating his cabinet for this one because this is an absolute beauty. This is top drawer Islay whiskey. I don't think you can get better than this. Just like I didn't think you get better than the 15.
Yeah,
this is right up there in terms of if I wanted the peaty whiskey to drink. This whatever's in this DNA, and whatever's flavor nodes I have on my tongue, or whatever you call them, taste buds, they just work in harmony together. Yeah. It's just absolutely just that perfect medicinal peat bourbon cask whiskey. This is as good as Islay gets.
And we sort of brought up about some of the no age statements and why certainly this year we've been very lucky to try older age statements. Obviously, this being an 18-year-old. So we're going back to, let's say, the casks. The spirit was laid down here maybe like 2006, around that kind of period. And people are sort of, maybe more so with the more recent age statements, saying that Laphroaig is losing some of its classic character. So this is, an older whiskey. I think this is really like bringing that back. And I'm glad, again, that they haven't messed around with it in any sense. No cask finishes. I think we're getting probably as close as I've ever been, or we might have been, to classic, older style Laphroaig.
Yeah, it depends what you want, because if I've heard a lot of this narrative that like, oh, they've got this like this new warehouse and their racking system is a little bit different than it was, and it's not close enough to the floor, and all the anoraks chirping on. But this is Laphroaig 18 for me is like, you've kind of got into whiskey and you've realized that actually you've got a bit of a hankering for peated whiskey and Islay whiskies, and particularly Laphroaig. That's the one that really sort of jumps out at you. It's a graduation. You're getting one of the best Laphroaigs, and for the price range, I think the 25 then jumps up to £550, right? And so the difference between getting an 18 and getting a 25, most people are just never ever gonna ever look at the 25. 125 if you want to graduate and do something special for yourself on your whiskey journey, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. In terms of, I'm just trying to think back, but this is, you always have a recency bias whenever you try it, because this is what's in my mouth right now. But the other 18s that we've reviewed, obviously Bruichladdich doesn't really count because it's unpeated, but the Port Charlotte. I'm remembering this more than I like the Port Charlotte. Do you remember the Port Charlotte?
Yeah, I mean,
I've had more time with it than I did.
I've drank it a couple of times, and again, it's an excellent whiskey, but it's very different. Do you know what I mean? Like the character of Bruichladdich is completely different to Laphroaig. I do find it really difficult to separate them, to be honest. Bruichladdich is certainly up there amongst my favourite Islay distilleries, as is Laphroaig. If I had to pick one of them, you probably are going to lean more towards what have you been drinking more recently.
And this is the good spice. This is like, I really like those little ginger shots you get from Lidl.
Yeah.
I love them, and I love the little burn that comes with them. This is kind of the little gingery little pan frying little burn, little bit of spice, as opposed to, you know, one time where we had Corey Vecken, and without water it was like napalm in the morning, wasn't it? It just like you know, that was really just blew off your tongue. This one is more of like an enjoy it. It's like a good. It's like when you have really good spicy food where it's got flavorful spice.
Yeah,
that's what this is.
leaves you wanting more.
I really want another one, but we have other episodes to do. Absolute delicious. So let's just say, you know, Bottle Killer, Laphroaig 18, is the ruler back? Is it a buy?
Oh, I think the ruler definitely is back. I'm really impressed with this whiskey. I'm glad that I bought it. As I say, yeah, the price. I suppose there's always going to be question marks when you're spending, you know, that kind of money on a bottle. You want it to deliver, but it absolutely does. I think, you know, it's, as I say, that kind of classic Laphroaig character. It's got lovely fruity caramelly notes on the nose. The palate for me is all like a nice balance of honey and sweetness and peat. But then you've got some like that nice spice in the finish, the ginger that Michael mentioned, and those kind of more like tobacco, leather type notes as well. And again, that medicinal, peaty kind of Islay brine just coming through right in the finish. Lovely and long. Yeah, it's top drawer whiskey.
Yeah, off we go. Let the trumpets blow. Hold on, because the driver of the mission is a pro. The ruler's back. It's a buy. It's an absolute buy.
So, there we have it. Laphroaig 18. Absolute buy. The ruler's back. Thank you for joining us. Hope you had a good time. I've had a good time. Michael, you had a good time?
It's been a buy.
We'll see you next time on Bottle Kill TV. Okay, so this is our quick 2-minute review. I'm sure we've got it in us. Michael, why don't you tell us a little about the whiskey?
Laphroaig 18 delivers on its promise. What I wanted was I love Laphroaig 10. I've had a great independent bottle in 15. I wanted to see a graduation. I wanted, you know, if you want a more fuller bodied, well-rounded, smoother Laphroaig at its best, it delivers.
Yeah, it's an excellent whiskey from nose to finish. So on the nose, you've got some really lovely sweetness that's balanced from the bourbon cask with that peat, you know, the classic character that you expect from Laphroaig, medicinal notes. Then on the palate, for me, this is all honeyed sweetness with a perfect balance. Again, the smokiness coming through and into a really nice long finish that's got a hint of spice coming through and some lovely ginger, also some tobacco and leather notes there as well.
Yeah, and it just completely delivers, and it's all meaningful as well. So, for example, the spice is more of a gingery spice. It's not that like napalm in the morning, just blow your tongue, taste buds off spice. It just delivers on every level you'd expect a Laphroaig, or you'd hope a Laphroaig too. Bottle Killer, is it a buy?
Absolute buy. The ruler's back. Laphroaig 18. It's worth it.